Okay, hello and welcome to today's video. In the spirit of the name of this channel, I'm going to be bringing you 5 enemies that I'd like to see in the sequel of Breath of the Wild. However, to spice things up a bit and make it less boring, I'll be only covering enemies that I consider obscure, so only in a few games or not shown that much. We've seen the return of old enemies, such as the Hinox or Lionel, so I don't find this too preposterous an idea. And it also allows me to cover some amazing enemies which don't often get given the spotlight, so that's also nice. Anyway, without further ado, let's get right into the video. 5. Bokoblin. The Bokoblin is a much larger version of a moblin, found exclusively in Spirit Tracks, and Hyrule Warriors if you count that. They wield a massive club and use their large weight to their advantage, attacking unrelentlessly, ignoring all of Link's attacks, albeit at a slow rate of attack. They may just seem like a typical brute enemy at first, but if you look further into it, unless you perform an optional side quest sort of area, you'll only encounter one of these things ever in the game, and it leads a pirate attack on your train. Literally, it's really cool, probably one of my favourite moments in the entire game, forcing you to stop and defend the train, whilst they literally get on board and raid it. I feel like this enemy could be expanded on in many cool ways, and it deserves way more than just 2 locations in a place in the Spirit Tracks and then a spin-off game, you know? Especially considering it made up one of my favourite moments in the game. 4. Spumes. Before I start talking about this choice, I'm going to say outright, I hate these guys. The devs seem to know exactly where to place them, such that they would always be able to shoot me at the worst possible time, which they did. Despite this, I think they would still be a really good choice for Breath of the Wild 2. For starters, despite being really annoying, they do look kind of cute. But then, they're also really satisfying to crush with a massive boulder which you roll across during a certain moment in the Earth Temple. Like, seriously, it's so satisfying. If you've not played Skyward Sword, get Skyward Sword, get up to the Earth Temple and try that part. Finally, I find them less annoying than Octoroks, and they're basically the equivalent of Octorok for Skyward Sword. So, if they swap them with Octoroks, that could be satisfactory perhaps. Oh, also, this isn't scripted, but I just thought of it. They come in different, colours or types as well, like cursed ones, which shoot malice, and then, water ones that shoot water, fire ones that shoot fire, and such forth. So, that will also fit well with Breath of the Wild sequel, because in Breath of the Wild, they did seem to also the Octoroks, or other enemies having different types based on colour, so that would also fit pretty well, you know? I don't know. 3. Bandits. This group of 5 acrobatic duck-like things can be found in the Minish Cap. One of them will peep its head out of the ground to look around, and upon seeing Link, it will quickly burrow back down. But not for long, because all 5 will suddenly pop out the ground, each stood on top of the other's heads, making a small little tower, as the one on the bottom walks towards Link to attack. The main thing I like about this enemy is just how comical I find the concept, honestly. Not just the fact that it's a group of 5 duck things burrowing through the ground, but they literally stand on top of each other's heads they're acrobats at a circus. I guess that's the name, you know? Acro bandits. They're not even that hard to kill, you just hit them a few times and they're gone. It's just an entertaining foe to fight. I really enjoyed fighting them in Minish Cap, even though they were easy. It just adds some nice comic relief, and I think that could be really cool in Breath of the Wild too. 2. Thieves. Unlike most enemies, there's nothing really unique when it comes to thieves. They're literally just thieves who try to steal Link's money. However, looking at them solely within Zelda only, not comparatively to other games, they're only in A Link to the Past and Four Swords adventures. And even then, not very often, only a few locations. And I feel like, yes, they are a generic type of enemy in video games as a whole, but if they were put into Breath of the Wild 2 and expanded upon a bit, they could be really interesting. Just imagine, like the Yiga, a disguised traveller. But rather than just popping into a puff of smoke and then trying to kill you, they try and pickpocket you and make a run for it, or they just flat out put a knife to your throat and threaten you and ask for all your stuff. Like, it could be potentially more interesting with a traveller turning into a puff of smoke and attacking you. Not that the Yiga weren't interesting, and it could add some nice risk to Hyrule, more than just, oh, an easy foe to fight. Oh, this person might steal your money and you might not even realise they've walked off with it. But then also making it so that you are able to look out for it and notice it, you just have to be doing so. It could be interesting, potentially. It would fit well with an open world, I think, which is obviously what Breath of the Wild had, and presumably what Breath of the Wild 2 will have. Anyway, onwards. 1. Zora. Now, this may have come as a bit of a surprise for those of you which has only played the 3D games so far, or even just only Breath of the Wild, because within those games the Zora are only friendly. However, in some of the older games the Zora were very far from friendly, I guess you could say. They were evil monsters swimming in the rivers of Hyrule that would spit fireballs at you. Lore-wise, these so-called River Zora split with the rest of the civilized Zora, with the civilized ones heading to a sea, and the river ones going into the rivers and becoming evil. We did see this briefly mentioned in Oracle of Ages, however I feel it could be expanded upon quite a bit more in the next Breath of the Wild, and maybe even a divide between the Zoras, or like political issues with like a group of good and bad ones. Some in the rivers shooting at you, but like some maybe with a base in the sea or Zora's domain. You know, it could be really cool, I personally think. And it could add some very interesting concepts to the race of the Zora, whereas typically, or at least in Breath of the Wild, they're just, oh, they're in Zora's domain, they swim a bit, they're allergic to electricity, okay, that's cool. You know, and it could just make things a bit more interesting, spice things up a bit. That's generally what I've been thinking with Zora and Thieves. Thieves would make the world more interesting, Zora would make a race more interesting, and whilst also adding an enemy. Like, I can potentially even see, rather than just a typical fireball spitting Zora in a river, you could also even have like River Zora warriors, which are evil as well, and having to fight them one-on-one in combat. That could be really cool. In Breath of the Wild, you only fight monsters in combat, no like actual, I guess you could say, people. So that could be really cool, you know, like a skilled warrior from Zora, which is evil, and you have to fight them. Like with a spear. That would be really cool. Anyway, I was rambling on a bit quite there, so that is it for today's video. What enemies would you like to see in the sequel to Breath of the Wild? Obscure or not, I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say, so let me know down below in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more Zelda content. It really helps the channel. Anyway, that is it from me. Hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.